welcome to the first in a series of interviews I'll be doing with folks who I really want you to get to know. And I'm really thrilled to be able to introduce you to my friend Jessica, who is part of the team of Jessica and Eric. Oh, that's okay. That's okay.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect.
Those are my kids.
Yeah, it's perfect because among many things, Jessica is a mother. But so I'll just turn it over to you, Jessica. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about the person that you love and that I love who died.
Well, I'm so excited to be here with you, Tom. You're such an important person in my life and in Eric's life, and you've been such an important part of our journey. So I'm Jessica Lindberg. I am the mom to 4 boys. My oldest son, Ethan, was born with a congenital heart defect in 2005. And Ethan spent a lot of time in the hospital, and he died at age 7 in 2005. And we have 3 other boys who are, I say I have 4 boys, 3 Earthside here with me, Blake, Chase, and then Bodie, who was born about 2 years after Ethan died, and Bodie was born with a rare muscular dystrophy. So he's part of our story that we're learning to embrace, and, you know, learning how to navigate that too. But Ethan was like the most awesome boy. He was born with a sick heart, but he was so full of joy. Like, he was so full of love. And like, Ethan walked into a room and like the room just exploded with laughter, and he loved to make people laugh. Actually, this is a picture of him and I at a bike race that he was at school. And the last year of his life he spent in the hospital, actually in Boston, Massachusetts. And I live not too far from Tom in Illinois. And that was a hard year. And after we came home from that year and after Ethan died is when we met Tom.
So tell us a little bit about, because I'm fascinated by how life brings us together. But how did you become aware of me and my work?
So this is such a crazy story, but Ethan went to a preschool here in Rockford, Illinois, and one of his teachers sent me this blog by this man, it's you, probably the day after Ethan died. And she had suggested that I look at this blog. She said that you had an incredible story, and her name is Jan. And Jan's daughter was in school with Rory. So that's how she knows you. And so really Rory was the connection to getting to me and Ethan, which is so cool. So honestly, I ignored my email for several months after Ethan died. People might have emailed me. I don't think that I checked it. And one day I was going back through my emails, actually looking for an email from one of Ethan's doctors. And I came by this email from Jan Katarabic and with the link to your blog. And so I clicked on it, and it said, "The death of someone you love is meant to crack you open." And I was like, oh my gosh, that is exactly how I feel. Now, I think it was about January or February. So Ethan had died the previous June. So it had been about 6 or 7, 8 months. And I was like, when I saw that, I'm like, I have to meet this guy. I am finding him. I don't care what it takes. I have to meet him. Because that was exactly how I felt. And so my mother-in-law somehow knew somebody who knew you and actually went to your door and left you her business card and said, "I need you to call me." And the rest is history.
The rest of the story is your mother-in-law and I actually went on a retreat together shortly after I had moved back to town. It's amazing that she remembered that, because to be honest with you, I did not remember that whatsoever. Okay, so let's say that somehow, some way, Rory and your mother-in-law brought us together. You were really struck by that. You know, when someone we love dies, we are cracked open. In fact, we're supposed to be cracked open. And one of the things I talk about in the first chapter of my book is that as we're dancing between both worlds, we question everything. We question absolutely everything. And I came up with this list of questions that I call life's fundamental questions. And I firmly believe that in order to make peace with our life, we have to ask and answer, ask and answer, ask and answer those questions over and over again until we come to a place where we can answer that question in a really, really peaceful way. So what I would love to do is go through that list of questions with you.
Okay.
And I'll be the first to admit that none of my answers are carved in stone. I mean, I always say, this is what I believe today, but I am fluid and I am expansive enough that I might read something, I might experience something, and that changes the answer to the questions.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't believe there's a right answer or there's a wrong answer. There's whatever answer you find or whatever answer bubbles up inside of you that brings you peace.
Mm-hmm.
So can we go through these?
Yes. Before we begin, though, I just want to say that these questions for me are probably the number one most important group of questions that I ask myself. And it's really the gift, that you have given to us, because before that time, it's like I knew I had to ask these, but I didn't know what the questions were. And you gave me permission to ask them. And so I echo what you said. I think these are some of the most important questions. Actually, they are the most important questions that people need to ask themselves if they want to heal.
So you and your family have lived through the death of your son, Ethan.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica, do you believe there's a God?
I do believe there's a God. I do. I believe that there's just been too many experiences that I've had since Ethan's died that show me that we're part of something so much bigger than ourselves. But I will tell you that there were some time after Ethan died. I was raised in a very, I was raised Catholic, but I was raised in a very strong Christian home. My parents, we went to church and we prayed, and they really talked about a relationship with God. It was very much a part of the way that I was raised. And so as Ethan was sick, I prayed a ton. I marshaled everyone to pray for him. And, after he died, there was a point in time when I would be like, I don't know if I think that there is a God. But I do now. I do think that there is a God, a loving God, and that it's so much bigger than we can see.
So what do you think that God actually is?
I think God is love. I think that it's that simple. I think God is love. I think God loves us. I think that, like I said, it's about something so much bigger than we can imagine. But at the core of who God is love.
So what role do you think that this love, this God, what role did God play in the death of your beloved son?
That's a hard one. And I think I know what I believe, and it's almost even hard to say the words, but I believe that Ethan came for a certain period of time to do certain things. And he lived his days, and that was his story. His story was that he was going to have a congenital heart defect, and that he was going to go through 8 open heart surgeries, and he was going to spend the last 13 months of his life in the hospital, and that he was going to wiggle his way into the hearts of so many different people, and that he was going to, that was his story, and that I, on some level, agreed to be part of that story. And so, because God is so much bigger than I can understand or imagine, I think that it's all part of this dance that we're in as human beings, in this world. And that I think that God is about bringing people closer to love, and that Ethan brought people closer to love. And because of Ethan, I have. And so I think that Ethan lived his days. And as much as I absolutely hate to say that, to be honest with you, because I wish that wasn't the case. I've gone through all the things that could possibly be besides that. None of that brings me peace. So yeah, I think that Ethan lived his days, and as planned by God and me.
So you have come to that point, to this point, and that brings you peace now. But
Mhm.
in the weeks and the months after Ethan died, is this what you were thinking? Is this what you were believing?
No, what I was thinking, that there could not possibly be a God, because any loving being would never. I mean, Ethan suffered greatly. I mean, like many parents that I have known, like, I mean, watching him suffer, watching your child suffer is honestly like so one of the worst things that could possibly be. I mean, we're wired to love our children, we're wired to protect them. I mean, we're not wired to watch them. Ethan was deprived of water because he was in heart failure for like the last year of his life. I used to have to tell him, he would cry for water. I mean, I would go in the hallway and just sob, and I was like, what is this? I mean, and that was what is like, what God would allow my kid to be water deprived and suffer and I mean, he just deteriorated and deteriorated, and decision after decision was the wrong decision, if you will, in the medical. And I was angry. I was pissed. I mean, what I wanted to do was take a baseball bat and just take it to the walls of the hospital. I mean, my husband said I need to find something legal to do, but I was so angry. So this has been an evolution for me, for sure.
So do you believe that Ethan still exists?
I do. I believe that we're in this physical body. We all have these. My friend Britta, her daughter died. I met Britt in the hospital when Ethan was a baby. And when her daughter died, she said, Ellie didn't need her bodysuit anymore. And I never forgot that. That's the way she would describe it to her kids. And that's how I describe it to my boys, that Ethan didn't need his bodysuit anymore. That Ethan is and always will be Ethan, the essence of who he is, his spirit. I think our spirits are who we are. And we shed our bodysuit at some point, but we still exist in a different way.
So did you ever doubt that, or was that always a pretty firm belief that you held?
I mean, I think I needed to come to actually verbalizing that I believed it. But I still remember it was maybe the day after Ethan died, one of his nurses that cared for him when he was an infant. She was his first nurse. She was our favorite nurse, Isabella. Eric and I were walking out of the hospital. I think we'd just seen his body maybe the day after he died. And she was walking in and she's like, I had a dream about Ethan last night or the night before. She's like, and my dream is that he asked me to carry him over this bridge of water. And that he was like totally happy and detached from like any, wires or anything. And I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, Ethan, like the water piece meant something to me because he had been so water deprived. So that was like, that just did something in me. I was like, And so there were several events like that happened where it just was like, I noticed it. And then as time went on and I read and I thought and I spent time with you, like it all kind of came together.
So,
Ethan and I were so inextricably linked, like we were so close. I don't think that we could ever be apart.
so do you believe there's a heaven?
I do. I believe that there's this place, and I don't know where I think it exactly is, but I think it's like right next to me. I don't think it's far away. I think that when we transition out of our physical bodies, it's just like this quick switch, and then we're in this space, and I think we're connected to each other because we're spiritual beings. Like we're souls inside of these bodies. I don't think I could ever be apart from him, though I like long to give him a hug and hear his voice. But I absolutely do believe there's some place.
And do you think everyone goes there, or do you think just some people?
That's a really hard one because I was raised to not believe that everyone goes to heaven. But I don't know if I believe God is love. And if I believe we have a loving God, then I don't know how a loving God would not send anyone to be with him, assuming, he's a man, we don't know as a being, for eternity. Like, I just don't, that I can't wrap my mind around. Now, how it all works, I really don't know. And there's a lot of bad things and bad people, and I don't know. But I can't think that a loving God would, I love my kids so much. Even if they did bad things, I would still want them to be with me.
I know, because I know you so well, that you believe in free will.
I do.
So maybe a loving God gives us all the choice and we can choose to say no.
Mm.
Maybe we can just say, no, I'm not going to heaven. I'm not going to heaven right now. I
Mm.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
So do you think that Ethan is still aware of you?
Wow. I do. I do think he is. Um, I do think we're aware of each other because I think that we're connected to each other so much. And I don't know what that's like, but I believe that. I can't believe it the other way, that he wouldn't be.
So can he communicate with you and can you communicate with him?
I mean, I talk to him all of the time. I really do. And I had so many signs, so many things that are just, I, I can't explain them any other way. And since he's died, I feel like I have been on this very specific path that was really what I was partly created for. And the way that it's unfolded is in such a way that it can't be anything less than divine. And I think that he's part of that.
So it sounds like he is very much a presence in your day-to-day life.
Yes, he is. He is. And there's days when I feel like he's close to me and something will happen and I'm just like, there's no way this is a coincidence, and I know that he's part of it. And there's days that I feel very far away from him and I long to feel something more, but I know that we're connected.
Thank you for answering those questions. Thank you
Yeah.
for answering those questions. I think it's just always such a fascinating conversation to have with folks. And like you said, I think it's a really, really important conversation to have with ourselves over and over and over again.
And it evolves. I mean, it really does. And it changes and we learn more. And I think it's really important to be open to that.
So it's a perfect segue. Can you tell us a little bit about the foundation and then the project that is so near and dear to both of our hearts?
Mm-hmm. So after Ethan died, in his honor, we started the Ethan Lindberg Foundation to support children and families living with congenital heart disease. And the goal was really to fill in gaps that we had seen in this life that we lived for 7 years. And so we do things like we actually provide housing for families with long-term hospital stays. We give direct financial assistance to families. We fund some research. We fund music therapy because Ethan loved music. That was like he just loved music. But I also created, with Tom and some other awesome people, Restoring a Mother's Heart Retreat. And one day I was literally blow drying my hair in my bathroom, and it just came to me that I needed to have this retreat for women of children who had died from chronic illness. And the reason that I thought that was, I was like, not only was it Ethan's death for me, but it was like all the years that came before. It was all the decisions that I had made that really impacted the way I felt about these life's fundamental questions, because it wasn't just one day that he died. It was decision after decision. And I had suffered so much, and I had worked so hard, and I had worked with you. Actually, my husband Eric and I spent 18 months with Tom every Tuesday night pretty faithfully for that time, and that was transformative for us. And I wanted to gather women with the opportunity to expose themselves to some of the things that I had. And I really believe that when we help women heal, we help our communities heal and our families heal, our children heal, because women are the quarterbacks of our society. I mean, I really believe that they are. And they're teachers, and we need to help them walk through their grief so that they can be good for themselves and for other people and walk into their purpose. Because I do think that possibly the death of your child is the beginning of you in many ways. And I want other women to know that too.
So we have the third retreat
Yeah,
coming up this November,
November 10th to 12th.
and it's in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin.
It is.
And it's, are people coming on Thursday?
So you can come on Thursday. It's not part of the retreat package, but there's actually several women that come Thursday. We get like this really great rate from the Abbey. I think it's $89 a night to come on Thursday. And then we begin on Friday around noon. So it is a little bit of a crazy travel day if you're trying to get there and get started. So people who travel from more of a distance often come the night before.
So Friday noon into the evening, all day Saturday, Sunday morning, and then we send you off on your way with a box lunch.
Yeah, we usually commence around 1, and people are usually getting ready to get in their cars around 2.
And what do you love most about the weekend?
Oh, wow. I love watching women come. They're so nervous to come. They're so sad. They're so desirous of community and of love and acceptance. And it's like we just watch them kind of break open through the weekend, and we it's very intentional the way that we take people through the weekend, and we kind of Tom talks about creating a safe, sacred space, and we talk about the fundamental questions that we talked about. We go into signs. We talk about we incorporate yoga and meditation. And as we do all of these things, like, these women are transformed. And it sounds like a lot to happen in 2 days, but I mean, you've seen it. It really does. I mean, they go from, they smile. And the other amazing thing, I think, is they create these bonds together. It's like they leave with friendships, and they leave with support that continues like long after they leave the retreat. And so I feel like we're gathering them in, loving them, giving them tools, and then releasing them to this world, not perfect at all, not healed at all, but in a better space that they can navigate their life.
One of the things that I teach, as you well know, that every single adult gets to believe whatever they want. I really hold that truth. And one of the things that I believe, and I say this all the time, that the women that will gather are being called to gather. And the children that they love, who came to the planet, did the work they needed to do, finished it all up, left their body, went home. Those children have a huge hand in bringing us together. And we are surrounded by them. I don't see them, I don't hear them, I feel them. And there is a power in that group that is so greater than anything that any of us individually bring. It's something that I wish that everyone could experience. I have said this many times. Of all the projects I'm involved with, this is one that I'm most proud of. So if you are listening to this, and if this resonates in any way, please say yes. Please take the next step. We will put a link below this video. But Jessica, what is the next step?
So the next step is that we'll put a link below. Tom will put a link below. You can contact me personally if you would like. You can register for the retreat to save yourself a spot. We have some scholarships available. Those are going quickly. People can also fundraise for themselves to come to the retreat if they would like to. Or they can just register, flat out. We have some spots available. And like Tom said, I really also believe like the women who are called to be there in November are being called, and you know who you are. And if you feel that nudge, like just that little nudge, like just say yes to it and take the next step, which is contacting me or, registering, and it will come to pass. Like, you just have to take the next step. We don't always know exactly what that's going to look like. But take it.
I think this is a pretty bold statement, but I'm going to say it. We can help people heal.
Yes.
We can help people heal. I can really, really proudly and gratefully say that. We have put together an incredible weekend. So if you are ready to heal, and not everybody is, but
right,
and
that's okay.
if you are ready, come.
And the one thing that I want to say too is that, when you come, like, we're coming to do work. I mean, we challenge you and we ask you some hard questions, but we will love you and you will feel like totally enveloped in love. And we do all these really cool things with your kids' names on it. We wanted to make it really special for you. So we can help you heal and we'll love you and we're going to challenge you. But that's really like how we heal, right?
And we are also going to offer you a glass of wine at the end
Yes,
of the day.
well, I do have some people say that, I'm so glad that you serve wine. We serve wine.
Yeah, we do. All right, Jessica, thank you for being my first person.
It was great to be with you.
So proud of you. I'm so proud and in awe of you, and so grateful that you and Eric and Ethan and the boys are in my life.
Yeah, we love you too. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.